Good morning, everyone. Stripe Gal. Today we are playing some more Lufia 2 Ancient Cave, continuing our Iris quest. However, this episode is going to start out with just a little intro because I am recording this on my 5-year anniversary of posting my first video on YouTube, which was my first Lufia 2 Ancient Cave run. The sound quality was terrible, and I didn't have much of my channels figured out yet. Didn't have really my full brand, my intro, my outro, and everything. But I went back and watched it, and it's not as bad as I was expecting it to be. In the last 5 years, I've put out over 2,000 videos at this point. I've played over 133 games on my channel, and I've kept up a pace of an average over the course of each year of a video per day. And over the entire 5 years, over that. It's been a really good year, and I've had a pretty good run recently, and I don't want to slow down, so we're gonna keep putting things out. There may be some gaps here and there, as some of you have probably noticed. I've in the past done big fancy things for my anniversaries, and this year I got eaten by Elden Ring, which I feel like is a totally understandable reason not to keep up with things. But yeah, I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you everybody for watching. Thank you everybody, especially for those who've subscribed and who've tossed comments out. There's been a lot of good interaction through FF6T edition, through the recent Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise videos, and plenty of other stuff. I'm just glad that people are watching and enjoying. So with that, let's get into the game. First of all, Iris Quest. We are trying to collect all the Iris treasures. Iris Pot that we picked up last time marks a third Iris item for us. Second, I lied. Second. We still have a ways to go. This is gonna take a while. The Iris treasures are rare drops throughout the game. Okay, and we are taking the traditional party for this one. Oops. Change. Let's see how deep we can get. Now, this is our fourth run here, fourth entrance to the cave. So at this point, we've collected some blue chest items, a pretty substantial number of blue chest items. Let's see here. Gold eye. And then we'll just toss, Spido Jewel, Tapis Jewel. So if you're just joining for the first time, Lufia 2 Ancient Cave is a 100-floor randomly generated dungeon. The treasure is randomly generated throughout. We're going to be looking for items to see if we can get special stuff that'll help us survive. Now, starting out, we actually have a distinct advantage over a lot of over a lot of runs that I've done because we're starting with blue chest item. Normally, we start with a blank slate. You start at level 1 with no items. And we're starting out with a bunch of items that were found in blue chests. Along with the red chests that are strewn throughout, there will randomly be blue chests. Blue chests contain special items that can be taken out of the cave and used in subsequent runs. We don't really need to kill a lot of things here, but it's a pretty easy thing to do right now, and if they're in our way, I'm fine with going through them. However, generally we are going to try and avoid getting into encounters unless we have to. Zap as our first spell. Zap isn't the best. Okay, it is literally... That is uncanny. Okay. So Zap and Fry are the most powerful spells in the game. They're only usable by Artie, and they're extremely powerful. However, they are very expensive. Most of our MP is going to get used for healing once we find healing spells. Magic doesn't restore automatically in any way, shape, or form. You have to find items like that high magic we just found to restore MP. And yeah, it's better to be efficient in other ways. So, next thing to point out, as you may have noticed, these enemies move in a pattern. The frogs run in a circle. The jellies just kind of lumber towards you, and that makes them, generally speaking, avoidable. So if you see me stop and swing my sword, that is why. There we go, Droplet, much better. Droplet is a very cheap offensive spell, which we will be able to use for fighting certain enemies, because it is cheap. Like I said, normally you wouldn't do all of these fights. The main reason we are is just to get a little bit of experience, and because with the weapons we've got, we save a lot of time by doing. But yeah, every time you take a step, the enemies take a step, which means that if you are very familiar with the patterns, you can go through a good chunk of the dungeon without having to do any fights. There will always be times where you eventually have to, whether it's in order to get certain treasure chests or because there's stuff blocking your way. We don't really need to open too many treasure chests. We actually have pretty solid gear for the part of the game that we're intending to do. However, our goal with this run is to find the iris treasures. There are 10 iris treasures that are hidden throughout the dungeon in randomly placed in chests. We are not guaranteed to get any on any given run. Our goal is to find one and then get out. You get out by using an item called Providence, which I believe is found starting on below floor 20. So we're going to be definitely doing at least 20 floors in each run. unless we die, which is a possibility. Hey, Flash got to go. So yeah, basically, there's always a possibility of, running into some bad luck. But we're going to do our best to minimize it, and with the blue chest items, we have a better chance than we would have. I mentioned Flash. Our 5th party member is our capsule monster. We have, I think, 7 different ones. Fire, air, water, earth, light, dark, and Fumi, which is the neutral one. Granted, technically Sully, the earth element one, is also neutral, effectively, because there is not actually earth element attacks or anything like that. It's just flavor. So we're taking Flash with us because he gives us a way to... he's not the best capsule monster for this run, normally. However, because our goal isn't to get all the way to the bottom floor, he becomes a lot better. I mentioned that a lot of this is going to be resource management. It's stuff like using our potions and our high magics effectively. And the fact that Flash continually has a chance to toss out healing means that there is a decent chance that we're going to get that benefit throughout and have a little bit less healing that we have to do. Already, you've probably seen that our characters look like they're very hurt, even though they're not. And that's because we don't have... you don't automatically heal when you level up. So our max HP is not going up, despite the fact that... or our max HP is going up, but our current HP is not. That was a mistake. I forgot that those ones moved. It's been a while. Speaking of really scary things... that was probably a really bad mistake, actually. Okay, let's see... Yep, that was a really bad mistake. We don't have any revives, so we are stuck without Maxim, which means any XP that we get until we find a revive is not going to him. That is another blue chest, and it contains the worst item out of those options, the engagement ring. That is 3 surprise attacks. I am playing like crap. Clearly, we are getting back to my roots of not playing this as well as I have since that point. Oh. Okay, so the good news is that with Artie still up, we have 3 things that we can find. A revive, actually 4. 5? Yeah, there's 2 revive spells, the revive item, and a miracle. Oh, I should double check my IP as well. Fully restore MP. I don't think... Yeah. No. Yeah, we have an MP restore, but we don't have another an actual revive item currently. So we were attacked by mimics, the things that got that kill off on Maxim. Mimics are, generally speaking, one of the scarier enemies in the game. The blue mimics that we find later, there we go, regain. The blue mimics we'll find later don't actually move, which is why I got confused. The red mimics don't move until you approach within a certain range of them, and then they move at you very quickly, which is what happened. Okay, Maxim's back up so we can actually start taking fights again if we need to, but again, we don't really actually want to more than we have to. But at this point it saves me from accidentally getting back attacked, so I think it's really best if I protect myself by just not. Where did the stairs go? Now we could go straight down the stairs, but this is a floor that's important, because level 11 is where we can start finding cores, which is what that thing in front of us is. Did I seriously just surprise attack myself again? So those enemies move mirrored to you, like at 90-degree angle. Which means, unless you screw up, they literally cannot run into you. Yep. Yep. So yeah, cores, as I was saying, are kind of the equivalent of metal slimes from Dragon Quest or cactuars from Final Fantasy. They are rare enemies that run away very easily, but if you can actually get a hit off on one, you get a bunch of XP. So in this case, we got lucky and one stuck around, and anytime we run into those, I'm going to use a spell. Doesn't matter what spell, it just has to be any offensive spell, because there's a bug in their magic defense. their magic defense is so high that they will take tons of damage from any magic. And 70 might not seem like much when we're hitting for more than that with our weapons, but keep in mind it's at the lowest level spell. And more importantly, these things have very high defenses and very few hit points. So you have to get, like, even with these really good weapons, we probably would only do 1 or 2 damage. So doing 77 is huge. So if you see me staggering my attacks, it's to make sure that we're attacking the enemies in the front row first. So I generally know about the order that my attacks are going to come in, which is Artie's going to go first because he has the highest speed, then Maxim. Usually it's going to be Guy next, but currently there's a window here in the lower levels where Dakar has higher speed. But eventually it'll be Guy and then Dakar. Dakar's the big tank character. He has the most attack, the most defense, and the most hit points, but is the slowest. Guy is very similar in how he's built, slightly more averaged out than Dakar is. And then Maxim is the all-rounder, and Artie is high speed and high magic. Speed is actually very important because it lets us run away from things. And as we were seeing earlier, sometimes you run into bad situations, and you need to be able to run away from things. It also means that he gets to go before the enemies, which in this case does work for, that is part of the whole thing with running away, but it's also part of, it's also for things like being able to toss a heal out before the enemies go, going ahead and getting an attack in before the enemies go. If he can kill an enemy before they get to attack, that's even better than healing. It's preventing that damage. Okay, we do not want to fight Wispies, which are those little white guys. There's our Iris item already. Okay. Iris Staff, one of the 10 Iris treasures. So at this point, I think if we get Providence, unless we get something really good here, this run is probably going to be a short one. We'll probably just try and get down to Providence, which is the item that lets you teleport out, and then teleport out to preserve our item. We haven't found anything that would be particularly promising towards towards the end of the game. I haven't mentioned it in this because the actual goal is to get down to floor 100 and defeat the jelly, which is a sort of boss, kind of a test at the end of the dungeon. You have 3 rounds to do 10,000 damage to it, and we're not going to be able to do that with the equipment we've got. The weapons we've got right now are very good for the very earliest part of the game. For most of the game, most of the dungeon, we are going to be going through either relying on instant kills or avoiding fights. For that reason. Hey, speak of the devil. So Fatal Pick is an example of one of the instant kill weapons. It has a high chance of instantly killing an enemy. And what that does in the hands of Artie means that you can just get in and get a kill. Ideally, late game, we would get a deadly sword and a deadly rod to put on Maxim and Artie, as well as 2 curse lifters. Those are both cursed items. You cannot actually unequip them, so we'd want to be able to find some curse lifters for the jelly itself, because you cannot use those items to get the kill against the Master Jelly. Master Jelly, we're looking for items that either do a percentage of damage to it. There are a suite of items that have special attacks that will do, instead of doing, damage based on your strength, will do damage based on the average, or based on the total hit points of the enemy. So, reduce the enemy's hit points by 1/8. It is a fairly common one in the actual game. Ooh, that guy's nasty. Wingers can be bad, so we're going to go ahead and heal a little. So yeah, basically our goal is to get some percentage-based things and then some things that do very high damage to finish it off. The ideal, pretty much requirement, is an item called the Dakar Blade, which is why Dakar will, in addition to Dakar being awesome, is the reason that Dakar will pretty much always come in to the cave on any run. Dakar is pretty much the most powerful character in the game to start with, and the Dakar Blade has a special ability that takes off half of an enemy's hit points in one shot. Now, even with good, super powerful attacks, we're not going to be doing more than, we're breaking 4 digits in this game is hard on damage. So the Dakar Blade, taking half of the 10,000 hit points from that boss, is a lot of damage, and there's not really a good way to match that otherwise. The other way, so then that's the first step, and generally you want at least 2 items like that. So one that does half, that's the most powerful one, And then one that does like a quarter of what's left will do about 1,200. Okay, music change. And this is where we can potentially start finding the Providence. It's usually not in the first chest. That was kind of ridiculous. So, given where we're at, we're just gonna go ahead and call it a short one. I'm okay with that. Like I said, even if the goal is to get down to the bottom of the even if the goal is to get to the bottom on any individual run, our goal is to collect the iris items. We want all of them displayed down here. Usually, you're not going to get more than one per run. They are very rare, and this was a very lucky run despite my terrible play. Which is probably a sign that I should take the grace that I've been given. So, hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, please give me a like and subscribe. Check out the other content on my channel. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comments. And as always, have a good one. We'll catch you next time. Here's to 5 more years.